You got your side.
Because not alone, I can't do the job.
If there's any questions on the issues.
Sorry about that.
Next day, the next.
No.
Mr. Dawes, you ready? Got 1 minute.
Fill the order, ship to your safety.
And he went back and paid off all 4 bankruptcies.
That's amazing.
All 4 previous bankruptcies.
It ain't there.
Paid off.
Greenville City Council will come to order. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Here.
Schmidt. White.
Here.
Brown. Ely. Here. Godwin.
Here.
Norris.
Here. I get everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. City Council members, you were emailed out the minutes. They will stand approved as emailed out unless there is a correction that needs to be done. Okay. You were also emailed out the current financial report. I will take a motion to accept or deny that.
Motion to adopt that.
Motion by Mr. Norris to adopt the current financial report. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Moving on. Approval of the agenda. There are no additions or corrections. I will entertain a motion to.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Okay, and moving on to public hearing. Anyone would like to come up at the podium and speak, and now is the time.
Hi, my name is Betty Mead. I live at on the 400.
Bring that down.
I live on the 400 block of West 3rd Street, and I want to talk about the intersection of West 3rd and Vine Street. Between 6 houses on these 2 blocks, there's 17 children in 5th grade or younger. And we have to walk across this intersection to go to and from the bus stop every day. Every day, all of us parents that are walking with our children are seeing people blow these stop signs. They're not stopping. And I mean, we teach our children to look both ways, but, you know, kids are kids. They're going to run with their friends, you know, at the beginning of the day, you know, hey, they're happy to see you, and they're excited at the end of the day. We try to control them, but these people that are blowing these stop signs just have no regard for how many children live in this neighborhood. I also have a curve that is right beside 420, 431, and my home, which is 432. And I see many, many cars go down that curve, 35, 40 miles an hour. I've seen my personal vehicle almost sideswiped several times. And we do teach our children. We go out there, we supervise them when they're outside. But again, kids are kids. They react before they think about it. If when their ball goes out into the street, their first reaction is, we got to go get our ball. If there's somebody coming down that street anymore, 10 miles an hour, it's going to hurt them. I mean, we are out there, we are on those steps, we are watching our children because we see this every day. It is really, really frustrating. I have blown my horn several times. I'm at the point where I'm going to get an air horn when I walk back and forth to the bus stop just to get these drivers' attentions because they're not slowing down. And we're not talking about just little tiny cars. I'm talking about business trucks from around town. I've seen a couple city trucks blow it. They don't, and Our kids are old enough, they know, look both ways. We go on bike rides several times a week in this neighborhood, and I am scared to death that one of these children are gonna get hurt because I don't see any monitoring of this intersection.
And that's a four-way, correct?
That is a four-way,
So are they on Vine blowing it or
Okay,
both
so-
ways?
both ways.
Both ways?
Mostly coming through on Vine, but I do see it when they're coming down Third Street as well.
In your
Mr.
bus
Benji,
stop,
can you set up
Yes.
some patrol there?
We have to cross that intersection to go to the bus stop and
Does
from the bus stop.
Go like Vine?
And we have 3 of these children that are on this bus stop that are ADHD. So, I mean, we are trying to grasp control of them, but you know, if they're in the mood, I don't know if anybody, I mean, I'm sure everybody's aware of what ADHD is. Sometimes they just go. And it scares the dickens out of me because I have my grandchildren living with me now. All of my kids are adults. But, I mean, these are little people. And these people just have no regard whatsoever. And, you know, if I yell out to them, you know, hey, stop, I will stand in the middle of the intersection until all of these kids are across that intersection, just to make sure nobody is gonna, I mean, we've had a couple close calls and it just scares the death out of me.
Where is actually the bus stop? Is
The
it
bus stop is
at the intersection?
excuse me, the bus stop is actually at 311 West 3rd Street. However, I have called transportation, and we are trying to get that bus stop moved to the corner of Vine and West 3rd to where they don't have to cross that intersection anymore. We will only have one child that would have to come this way to cross the intersection, and I'm more than happy to make sure that child can get across that street.
Because I know
Rather than-
that's what we did at our Third and Ash. We had the
Because
same problem, so the school moved the bus stop in the middle of the block, so
And-
it wasn't near an intersection.
Well, I mean,
But regardless, it needs to be enforced, so.
Yeah.
Ryan's back there shaking his head like he's gonna start patrolling it, so.
the supervisor of Greenville Transportation has already approved the move. It just does not have, it has not happened yet, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But, I mean, if we have to cross the intersection going towards Broadway, we've got 11 kids crossing that intersection. And if we move it to across the street, we have one child
Got you.
that has to
Okay.
go that intersection. And I mean, kids are kids, but man, if you're driving a vehicle in a residential area, there is no slow kids at play signs down in this area. It would really be great to get one of those or a couple of those installed in this neighborhood. Because to see one of these kids get hit and, it would blow my mind. Because knock on wood, none of my children have ever been hit by a car, and I don't want it to start now. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to piggyback a little bit on what she's talking about. I live on Harmon, and when the high schoolers let out, sometimes it's like a drag race to see how fast they can go. And I've actually stood out there on my porch and yelled at them to slow down because, especially if they're driving a pickup truck, I think they want to see if they can blow out the fumes or something, I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of crazy down there when school lets out. The other things that I want to bring up, I had called the street department a week ago Monday and told them that I had 2 orange cones that were left over from the walk on the Sunshine Walk, and they told me they were going to come down and pick them up, so I put them out by the limb pickup that I had also called about. They picked up the limbs, but they didn't pick up the cones. So what do I do with the cones, Mr. Delk? Okay, because they're sitting out there next to the road, so I thought, if you want me to bring them up or take them somewhere, I can do that too. Okay, some of my neighbors had a limb cleanup because of the storm, and they wanted to know if the city's going to extend the limbs, because it was last Friday was the last pickup. Will you be picking up any more limbs, or is that a done deal?
So there's continuing the list right now, but it's done, the place we take them doesn't take them any longer after this week.
Okay, so some of my neighbors have piles out in front of their house. Do they still call then, or?
They'll get them all picked
Okay, but they still need to call, correct?
No.
No, they'll just drive around and pick them up. Okay. Then I had another neighbor tell me they want to know, when is Avenue B ever going to be blacktop? Because when you did the avenues several years ago, you did them all except for Avenue B. So they went down about a week or so ago and they patched the holes. And one neighbor said, "You going to council tonight?" I go, "Yeah." "Well, will you bring that up?" And I said, "Sure." So I just brought that to your attention, that some of the neighbors wanted to know, is that ever going to be blacktop? And then the last thing, I was talking to a neighbor who was out picking up his limbs, and he got approached by Omni again. So those people have not learned. They are still going door to door trying to convince people to buy their service. And he told them no, he was happy with Spectrum. So I don't know what it's going to take to get these people to stop, but you know, what do you do? They don't come to my house anymore because I've already told them twice they're not supposed to be doing this. And when I told this to the neighbor the other day, he was shocked. He says, "They're not allowed to do that?" And I go, "No, they're not allowed to do that." So if that happens, how do you want me to handle it? Or how do you want people to handle it? I'll talk to all the neighbors and tell them what to do. How do you want it done? What should I do?
Call the police.
Call the police?
Yeah.
Okay,
If you can, get a license plate on it.
okay, I'll do that.
You take a picture.
Okay.
Hey, while you're here.
Smile for the camera. Okay, that's all I got this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Sabrina Hotteshell. Mine's a little lengthy, because evidently this has been a heated discussion for a while. I'm here tonight to discuss first and foremost the no parking signs that were placed temporarily during the Ohio Street project, May of 2023 at Grant and 4th Street, as well as some other issues and concerns. All four corners of this intersection has received this letter. Dear property owner, as you are aware, the traffic volume at this intersection of East 4th Street and Grant Street has increased significantly due to construction and the road being closed on North Ohio Street. We will be placing temporary no parking signs in front of your property to increase the visibility of oncoming traffic while crossing on Grant Street. These signs will be temporary and removed once the North Ohio Street project is completed. Please see the attached map for new locations of the temporary no parking signs. These signs will be enforceable from the sign to the corner. If you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. Signed, Matt Myers. We have owned our property since 2013. Our home is a 4-story. We have 5 children and a mother who is on disability. For a total of 8 people, 5 in which have a driver's license or cars, and my husband, who is a construction manager and brings a work vehicle home daily. Throughout the 11 years, we have contacted multiple city officials regarding this intersection to have a 4-way stop sign installed. I have spoke with the police, whom said we needed to contact the city for traffic studies. The Greenville police supposedly observed only while observing from Ludlow or St. Clair. I have contacted the former mayor, Steve Willman, because I was also directed to speak with him. No follow-up at that time. I also reached out to the current mayor multiple times regarding this matter. I have messages to confirm. Again, no solution or follow-through. I have sought legal counsel as well after speaking with the Greenville Police Department on September 20th. After coming to my residence 2 times over vehicles, we were informed by Officer Daughtery that the signs were to be enforced by the council president, John Baumgardner. After speaking with an attorney, we were informed the police should only be taking orders from the chain of command, the mayor, not the council president. As for the signs, they are taking up 71 feet of my 97-foot frontage. I have pictures. More than happy to show you. Apologize. So these are of my property. I have a measure, an accurate measure there of the length. They're taking up 71 feet of my 97-foot frontage, as well as 71 feet of Mr. Mallory across the street's property, leaving no room for him to park, compared to the signs on the east side of Grant Street that are only 46 feet from the stop sign. Here's Mr. Mallory's, it's also 71 feet. Do you see an issue with this? 71 feet, 46 feet. What's the reason for the significant difference? This forces our neighbors, Mr. Mallory, who has lived at his residence for 30 years and is elderly with health problems, to park on the side of his property in the grass. Joe, who lives on the other corner, here's some more pictures for you. Joe lives in this property owned by Bonanza. Joe, who is a Bonanza renter, cannot park in front of his residence at all. He also parks and blocks the sidewalk that also is a designated elementary school bus stop. There, you can see in those pictures, there is no sidewalk. It's gravel, it's blocking a bus stop. He can't park in front of his residence. Visitors of all residences are not paying attention to these signs, as they are not logical to have in a residential neighborhood. My mother, who has various nurses from Comprehensive Health, visit her weekly with nowhere to park. The no parking signs have not slowed down the accidents, the near misses, or the ones who assume it's a four-way stop sign. We have cameras on our property for a number of reasons. One, importantly, for my husband Jacob, his work vehicle. It's under the streetlights and the camera view. For the past 6 years, when asked, we have provided the police with footage from accidents. This particular 4th Street intersection is not safe for my children or anyone else's to be on, and we have never allowed them to hang out on the corner or in front of our house. All we have ever been trying to do is to get the city to install a four-way stop sign. You are creating more issues and upsets for the homeowners by leaving the signage than what it really should be. You took time to install 4 temporary signs under false pretenses, affecting homeowners and their visitors, than just doing the right thing, alleviating the problems for accidents and owners by installing four-way stop signs at this intersection. I would like to mention, I personally know a government official that works at the courthouse that travels 4th Street every day to and from work that is going well over the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. We can sit outside any day and witness cars traveling 45 plus on 4th Street. From Ohio Street coming down the hill to Ludlow, there is not one four-way stop sign, which is allowing for the increased speeds. Not to mention, Grant is a shortcut from Martin to Maine, which is even more of a reason for the four-way. On 9/20, September 20th, after speaking with the police sergeant, showing him the letter that was provided to us about the signs, he reached out to Matt, the street department supervisor, who informed the sergeant the signs were at first temporary, but after receiving positive feedback about the signs from the residents, Matt decided they would become permanent. With myself included, I have talked to the other 2 homeowners affected by the signs, and we are all in agreement that no one talked to us about them. Was there ever a plan to inform the homeowners, or are we going to continuously be lied to? Again, you can see this picture of how much space you guys are taking away from my property. So, that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Yep, so just so the clarification, I had someone approach me on this. It's not like I drive around the city and look for things that are not correct and ask PD to correct it. So I'd appreciate it if PD would not throw me under the bus when they're out there doing this. So go ahead. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, if council wishes, I guess my recommendation would be to assign it to the safety committee, and then it can be looked at if you would like to look at a four-way. Four-way stops sometimes can create false hope, especially new ones. They can be more dangerous as part of the concern when you have an intersection. You know, we found out that down at 502. It can be done. And then also like the parking, I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's also a requirement that you can't park within so many feet of a stop sign too. So it doesn't necessarily alleviate that parking side of things.
It's 10 feet from the stop sign. 10 feet is what we're providing. Yes, that's 71.
If you would, come up to the podium so they can hear you. Thank you.
We were informed by the police officers that you only have to be 10 feet away from the intersection. The crosswalk, the stop sign, the intersection, regardless, it's 71 feet. What's the difference between the 71 feet on our corner versus 46 feet on the opposite corner? That makes absolutely no sense. I can understand if you guys want to take away one parking spot, but you're taking away 3/4 of my parking in front of my property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so Mr. Delk, I agree. I think we need to assign this to a safety committee to look at two things. One is, the no parking signs need to be moved or done away with? And then two, to decide if we need to look at maybe doing a four-way. So, safety committee, Mr. White, you're the chairman.
Yep.
Mr. Rogers, you are vice chair. And Mr. Godwin, you are a member. So if we could have that back, I'd like to get this taken care of sooner than later. Think we can have that back for the next meeting?
I believe so.
Okay, the 15th?
You okay with that?
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Dennis Mallory. I'm the Mallory she's talking about. I live across the street. I have to park on Grant Street, which I've parked in front of my house for 28 years. 28 years. And I gotta go all the way around the Grant to park now because there ain't no place to park on 4th Street. Because you guys have put the temporary signs, was supposed to be temporary, what I told the officer when he come down to the house the other day and asked me to move my car. I try to park away from that corner so you can see when you're going down 4th Street. But I've seen numerous accidents, being there 28 years. It isn't because of the two-way stop or, because a lot of people will blow Grant Street, but even if they stop, they'll pull out on 4th Street because they think it's a four-way stop, because from Firestone on down, it's a four-way stop. And that's what creates the accidents. I've sat on my porch and watched a lot of accidents, so 28 years of them, so.
Okay.
But I'm the Mallory that she's talking about. But
And you have the 46 feet, right?
no, they took 71 feet away from me too. So I got to park around on Grant Street, which Grant Street ain't very wide to start out with. But I've seen people blow the stop sign at Grant, and then I've seen people, I'll tell you what, they think it's a four-way stop when they're coming down 4th Street, because I've seen people pull out in front of people because they think they're going to stop and they don't. Four-way stop would help. I'm not real enthused about parking on Grant Street, but I did what the officer told me to do. So when she come over and asked me about whether I'd come to city council, I said, well, I've never been there, but I've lived at this property for almost 30 years. So I've seen it all. So, but I think a four-way stop would help. There ain't no doubt in my mind it would help. I mean, because I've seen people actually stop there, and they don't have to stop when they go down 4th Street. But I've seen people stop because they've come down 4th Street and they had all them four-way stop signs, so they just figure that's a four-way stop, they stop. But I've seen people think that they're going to stop and pull out a Grant, and I've been sitting on the porch and I've seen it all, so. So I thank you for your time, but I told her I would come up. I said, I don't think it'll do a lot of good, but I'll come, so.
No, we appreciate you coming up
I'm
and,
here.
assigning this to committee so we can study it and get all the facts.
I just don't like that, I parked in front of my house for like 28 years. Now you tell me I can't.
So you're catty-cornered from,
Yeah, I live across the street from them.
well, straight across,
Straight
okay.
across the street.
Okay.
I live in the brown house, they live in the green. Right, 71 feet. And the intersection she's talking about, the other two property owners, they only got like 46 feet. But I gotta park all the way around on Grand Street because there's so many cars parked on 4th Street that there ain't no way that. So I appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you.
I do know that Mr. Mowry did park back reasonably, so that it didn't try to block traffic. I've known him for several years, and, he always did park back away from the intersection.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. I just want to provide a little clarification on how this works for Sabrina, with the chain of command, I think you said how that goes. So people bring issues to the council members. Almost every meeting, a council member will come to me and say, hey, this is what I was told. Could you guys look into it? In this particular instance, I had Lieutenant Monin look into it. I always do tell him where the original complaint came from. That circumvents the middle confusion, like who to go to for clarification. So there's no, it's not like Mr. Baumgartner said, there's nobody driving around looking for particular issues on the council. It's whenever an issue comes to them, comes to me, it just goes down the line until this happens. So this originally started, I want to say, a month ago. But yeah, we're on our end, we're open. Well, it just got brought to my attention a month or less ago. So trying to work with.
The officer asked me to move my car. The neighbors have been complaining about it.
Yeah.
I said, they got the same problem I got.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times, by the time it gets to the patrol officers, they may not have, all the information. They're just going where they were told. But we try to cut that out by saying, hey, this is where the original complaint came from. You go to that person and then get down to the bottom of it so we can find a solution that's best for everybody.
The officer asked me to move my car. I said, that's fine.
Every meeting is open.
For a high street.
Yeah.
They were supposed to come in.
Just come to me.
Yeah. We understand, and on our end, we're willing to do what we can to make it work best for everybody. We're not trying to give people parking tickets.
Four-way stop and sign should be there.
It sounds like the council's gonna look into that, so.
Yep.
I'll invite you.
That's the beauty of this, is we're assigning a safety committee that will look at this and bring back some suggestions, and then the council can vote on it, whether to do away with the no parking, whether to move the no parking, or to make it a four-way, or leave it the way it is. And then council will vote on it. So, all right, moving on. Anyone else for a public hearing?
I'm Jacob Hottishell. I just had a couple other issues besides the stopping issue. And Chief, it wasn't no harm to you. I actually found that information out by your officer because I asked. He rang my doorbell and I said, wanted me to move the truck. And I said, hold on till I get there, because we did. We come up, we talked to your sergeant who was on duty that day. We reached out to the mayor that day. It was 2 o'clock on Friday. Everybody up here's gone, so it was kind of hard. But he had looked into that information because I asked him who was complaining, because he said neighbors originally, and Mr. Mowry is the neighbors calling in because, one, we've already spoken with several of your officers. They didn't have an issue with us parking there because we had the letter stating it. It was temporary till Ohio was open. Street, they seen it as the street department hasn't got around to pulling them yet, which I did make numerous attempts on contacting the street department on that with no answer, no response back on any of it, as far as removing them or anything after the project was done. But the other issues that I want to talk about, which I have reached out to the street department. I believe I talked to, is it Lauren or the secretary there? Jennifer. Okay. I talked with her about no street light or no alley lights in the 500 or 600 block of East 3rd and 4th between 3rd and 4th. She told me I needed to contact AES. I call AES, talk to their outage board. Again, I'm in utilities, you know that. I have numbers that I can reach out to them. They wanted to know why the city was not calling it in. So they said they sent somebody out. Don't know if they did or not. Contacted the street department again. Our alley lights still do not work. And the 500 and 600 block of 3rd and 4th, unfortunately, is not that good of a neighborhood to not have lights up in the alleys. But we would like those fixed. And then on Grant Street, a big reason why we don't park cars back by our garage is every time that it rains, that section of the street floods and has for years. I know I brought this up with Ryan a few times, and I've also had somebody from the street department come out and tell me here in the last couple years that the street needed to be repaved because it has a big hump and all the water puddles along the side of our curb. It does not hit the drains, and I have pictures to show that just from this weekend.
So puddles like in between the crest of the road and your garage?
Yep.
Like along, okay.
Yep. So, and I can show you those pictures, but that is one reason why we do not like parking back there in the back, because that is every time it rains, no matter how little or how much that it does. It never makes it to that drain. I know that they originally come out and they cleaned out the grates thinking that was the issue, and it was not. The other issue that we have is in front of our property, there is a sinkhole. Has been there since Vectren come through and did the line replacement. I believe that was in 2015 or 2016.
Street or grass or?
It is in the street and in the grass. It's dropping the curb. There is no dirt underneath the edge of pavement or the edge of curb at the corner of 4th and Grant, about 20 feet off roughly where you guys ended your new curb when they did the ADA curb install. I've brought that up multiple times. It's never been addressed. When they were doing the paving project, I brought it up then because that would have been the time to fix it, and it's still not fixed, and now the road is dropping back in front of our property. As well as we noticed this weekend, there's about a 6 to 8 inch hump in the 500 block of 4th Street, down closer to Locust, that has humped up over the weekend. I don't know what that's caused from or anything, but there was nothing coming out.
So that Locust is in between the 400 and 500 block, right? Is that right, Ryan?
Yes. Yeah, it's between the three, between Locust, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's between Locust and Grant is where it's at, but it's like probably 507 East 4th,
Okay, so it's a 500 block?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a noticeable hump that if somebody hits it with their tire, it's going to throw them off. Okay, and then lastly, we have a rental property at 415 East Main. The neighboring house on the west side has been vacant for 2 years. It had been known for drugs and squatters. Recently, our tenant informed us that the ceilings inside the home collapsed and blew out the windows. He had called the police department that night at 2 o'clock in the morning because he thought somebody was breaking into that property to report it. And I had spoke with that homeowner about a week later. He said nobody had reached out to him about the issue with the ceiling collapsing inside that property or anything. But the biggest thing is the roof has shingles that are completely deteriorating. It's collapsing in. The shingles are blowing all over our yard to where we have to clean them up. Really, the house just probably needs to be condemned.
What is the address again on this one?
It is, I want to say it's probably 411 East Main, because ours is 415.
It's 415, yeah. Is yours right next to the church
Yeah.
parking lot?
Yes, it's the one right
The
beside
next one
us.
with the vines.
Yes. You know which one, you're a neighbor, so.
Yep.
That property there on the backside, you can't see it from the front, but the back addition, the roof is completely collapsed in on it in several spots. I mean, there's broken windows out there, he's got it locked up like Fort Knox, unfortunately, where he's made some sort of configuration on the door locks from people breaking into it so much. But wanted to see what we could do about that property as well.
Okay.
And then that is all that I have there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ryan, you could look into some of that?
Yes.
I know Matt's not here, street department.
The alley lights, I'll have to look, there's not too many, we don't own too many alley lights, or, we don't,
Right.
we don't own any of them, but we pay my alley lighting for street lights, but most alley lights, there are a few around town, but there aren't many. They're actually in the alley, because we just do the streets, so like a lot of time alley lights are what AES calls a night guard, and the homeowner pays for them, and
But they're not ours, they're on the actual poles, and I know I lived on Third Street years ago, and, oh God, who was the safety service director then? Wasn't Green?
What year?
2008, 2009?
Rod Hill?
It was Schmidt, it was John Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the bright idea to do away with all the street light, alley lights back then, and I know that got kicked back on where when he left, all them got turned back on. These are actual alley lights that are powered by DPNL, not from homeowners.
Well, it's like in the 300 block of East Third, we have a light, but it's one of the neighbors that pays for it.
Yeah, there's 2 lights in each alley, I believe, that are up on the poles,
We'll look at it.
yeah, I just have to.
and they've been out
Yeah,
since the tornado.
Because ours went out and it was like pitch dark.
Yeah.
So that's been a few years back. We had to get it fixed.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone else? Public hearing? All right, moving on to administration report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. 4 events I want to talk about. First of all, this Thursday evening, beginning at 6 o'clock, is the homecoming parade, which will start at the Marsh Building and continue all the way down Broadway to the school, with Harmon Street, that turns on the Harmon, right? Okay. So that begins at 6 o'clock. Sunday, October 6th, beginning at 1 o'clock to 4 p.m., the fire department is hosting an open house of fire prevention is the theme, and we invite the public to come to that. A lot of important topics to be discussed there and brought up, a lot of different things with things for children. They're going to be talking about sleeping with the door closed, smoke detector, CO detector applications, fire extinguisher training, inflatable safety house, and so forth. So again, that begins on Sunday the 6th at 1 o'clock. Beggars Night, downtown Greenville, will be on Thursday, October 31st, actually on Halloween itself. Parade begins at 6 p.m. and the Beggars Night, the trick-or-treating, starts from 7 o'clock to 9. Also, trick-or-treat in Greenville will be Sunday, October 27th, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Talking about a few things that was discussed in our public hearing. First of all, people need to slow down in our neighborhoods. We need to be starting to try a speed limit of 25 miles an hour. Because down the side streets, there's no reason in the world to be going that fast. We need to pay more attention to our speed and to the kids in our neighborhoods. And regarding the intersection at 4th and Grant, I think a lot of people just naturally instinct is the four-way intersection, four-way stop, and I think that's what it should be. So again, we'll have the safety committee to look at that. And last of all, I just want to urge people, if they'd like to reach me, contact me at my office. Phone number is 937-548-1482. Feel free to leave a message, or my email is jwhitaker@cityofgreenville.org. I try to keep up as much as I can on Facebook and Facebook Messenger. It's impossible for me to do that and get 100% of all the messages that are sent. So the way to guarantee that I'm going to see it on a daily basis is to email me at my email address. And again, it's jwhitaker@cityofgreenville.org. So I apologize to anybody, but I haven't gotten back to you on Facebook Messenger. It's very difficult to keep up with. So.
You got back with me, you said that you would contact me on Sunday, and I didn't.
Oh, really? Okay. I gotta look at that.
Sure.
I apologize for miscommunication.
It was just Friday afternoon, couldn't get a hold of anybody, and I know we communicated before on that.
Yeah, I know
So,
the, You talked about that intersection before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, I remember coming to your house a while back.
Yep.
I think it was when I was on city council, we were talking about that intersection. So, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize for
That's okay.
missing your message.
That's okay, thank you.
So thank you very much. With that, I pass.
Thank you. Mr. Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize in advance. I had a lot to go over this evening. First thing I'd like to pass out are these handouts. First thing I want to talk about is the authorization to bid for the solids handling and the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. We do have two members of our engineering team from Jones and Henry in the audience are here to answer any questions, and I know we're not going to be able to vote on this, but if anyone has any questions, maybe we can get those out of the way this evening so that they don't have to come back. But just to give you a kind of a brief overview of where we are, so clear back in 2005, there was a study conducted on the wastewater treatment plant, and the solids handling portion of that came back as an imminent danger of catastrophic failure. So pushing 20 years ago. So we started working, talking on this project, I think it's about 3 years ago now. Did a study. Council at that point authorized us to hire Jones and Henry to start the design work for this project. Since that, as most of you are aware, we had a major pump failure, and we put a temporary pump in, or purchased a temporary pump to get us by. Currently, on the biosolids portion of it, the sludge is pumped out to the landfill, held in a lagoon, and then if we're lucky, 2 times a year, we pump that out into tankers, and then that's taken and injected into farm fields. We have, so the pump failure, the structure itself is failing, and then we've had multiple breaks on that line that actually goes out to the landfill area to that pump. So that's part of this. And then at the very beginning stages of when we got into this, we started talking about, okay, what makes sense here? So we started talking about an actual new administration building as well, tied into that, and that's all in your packet. So the current administration building, it was built in 1936. It is in the floodplain, and it's failing. It needs a roof. It needs new windows. It needs a lot of maintenance and upkeep. And so we were like, well, we could push that down the road and maybe look at admin building later on. And as we talked through it with the engineers, it was decided to at least put that in the packet and plan on trying to build that new admin building. And most of that reason is, number one, is because it's in the floodplain. And it has flooded multiple times in the 25 years that I've been here. And number two, once we run all these controls to the old building, say in 5 to 10 years, if we build a new building, then we're going to have to run all this stuff to the new building, and it's not really going to be cost effective. So what we're looking at for this is an authorization to bid. We hope to bid in December, award the first part of January. This would be a 30-year EPA loan. Current rate right now, we wouldn't know the actual rate on this loan until we sign all the documents, which is going to be a March timeframe, March of 2025 timeframe. Current interest rate on those loans are 2.86%. We hope and expect it'll go down by March, but that's kind of worst case scenario. So payback is going to be a 30-year, and these are all worst case scenario numbers. So if you look at your packet, I think it's like $16.9 million for this entire project. So this would include admin building, a garage attached to an admin building, a solids handling building, digester tanks, and then a solids solids holding area. So once it's made into cake, then it will go in a building. At that point, it becomes a Class B cake. So the regulations change up quite a bit on what we can do with it. For example, Class B cake can sit out in a field for a certain number of days where liquid has to be injected instantly into the ground. When you haul it, you have to inject it that day. And the problem that we run into when it's wet and then there's already, crops in the field, so we have to hit dry months, and then we also have to hit, like in July, we can only do wheat fields because the crops are still there when it's dry enough to actually do the injection. So this really frees us up. Also, worst case scenario with the Class B cake is it can be hauled to Rumpke. Now, Rumpke does have to haul it all the way to Hamilton to landfill down there. It can't go to the transfer station. It has to be a direct haul to Rumpke in Hamilton. But even at that, the cost is cheaper than what we have to pay right now. I think we pay 8 cents a gallon for disposal. And then the other side of this, this would also demo the current tank that's out at the landfill as part of this too. And then we would have construction management cost. We have paid for all the engineering up front. I think it was about $1.7 million. We're at 90% drawings now. So any questions?
That would eliminate the line going underneath the creek?
Yes, no more line.
We won't need that from there to the landfill.
It'll all be on site.
Now, is that where they're wanting to put the administration building and stuff, is that still a flood zone?
It is, but it'll be built up out of the 100-year floodplain.
So you're changing the floodplains, what you're doing?
Well, moving the building and then raising the elevation as well.
Where the current building is, it's about the lowest spot there, correct?
Correct. And that will still be in the floodplain, and that building will stay. We won't put a whole lot of money into it. It won't be heated because we have storm pumps in the basement. That was how it was built. So that's how we pump that water off of us when it does flood.
Because I know when you mess around with flood zones, you got to watch what you do when you move dirt around because it creates problems with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, and our engineers
Have been
can answer those questions, but this has been a huge undertaking, and all of those items. We've got permission from the EPA, from the Army Corps of Engineers, anyone you can think of, we've talked to and have all those details worked out on this current plan.
And we have we can handle a loan.
I don't know what the payment is.
So I'll throw some numbers your way.
Ryan?
Yes, sir.
On page 1 there, I see it says future digester tank number 4. Is that going to be done, or, because in the...
No, that is just if it's needed. Say down the road, our flow increases tremendously, then we can add a 4th digester to handle that extra flow. And maybe Dinesh or Jake or somebody can speak to that, but what our number would be.
If you could come to the podium, please.
Right now, the 3 digester tanks, they're about 50 by 50 by about 14 feet tall. They'll be adequate to handle, combined with the storage biosolid storage building. I think it meets the EPA regulations to have 6 months of storage. We exceed that, so we should be good for now. But in the future, let's say down the road, you do need a 4th digester tank. You have some space to build it. So the current design allows for space to accommodate a future tank 10, 15 years down.
Thank you.
Ryan, do you want this assigned to utility committee to review it, or?
No, I have legislation to authorize to send it to bids.
Okay, I got you.
And understand too, in the legislation process, so authorizing it to bid is just putting it out there to get quotes back. You still have to approve the bid. So just because you say, hey, we can go and bid it, if the bids come back with numbers that we don't accept, it's not like you're guaranteeing this project. You're just saying, this makes sense at this stage. Let's take the next step and see what this is going to cost us as we continue to work through all the details.
Okay. So you want to add that to legislation?
It's on there.
Oh, it is on there.
there.
Okay, okay.
I just wanted to
Got
be
ya.
able to answer any questions and have them here to answer questions. There's a lot to it.
What's the time frame? What, it, from start to finish?
2 years. 2-year build.
Can we quit calling it cake?
Yeah. We had that conversation last time, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sludge, we'll just call it sludge.
Oh, it's sludge. Well, sludge is where it starts.
Well, yeah.
Cake is what you make.
Cake is cake. It's solids.
Just pretend you're playing in the mud, guys.
There you go.
Take your shoes off.
What else you got?
Okay, sorry. Any more questions on that? We good? And if you, did you want to ask financial questions? Clarence?
Huh?
Was it you the one to ask financial questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have the numbers, so if you don't mind. Currently, we have $7.8 million in the wastewater fund. When we did the price increase, we had talked about this is going to be used for infrastructure. This is one of those infrastructure things. So the projected, and this is just projected loan payment, all depends on the bids, the interest rate, is 2 installments of $495,000 and $495,725. So a grand total of $991,450. That's big numbers. Not used to saying those big numbers.
Yeah.
Annually. So currently, our projected revenue for 2024 at the wastewater treatment plant is $4.5 million, and our projected future budget for operations is $2.1 million. So that would cover our payment and then give us $1 million to put into other infrastructure, sewer lining, lift stations, all the other things that go along with it. If we do end up wanting to pay the loan off early, we can pay the loan off early with no penalties.
That is a line item for this project, or for projects.
Yes, yes.
So of that 7 mil that we have on hand, how much are we using of that?
To start, well, we've already spent like 1.6 million on the engineering side of that number. But we wouldn't be spending any of it. This whole entire thing would be a loan, and then we would have to start paying back basically $1 million a year.
Would we want to chunk some of that down on it, or?
We can, and we can work through all those options once we get the bids back and once we get all the loan documentation, and that would be something that all of you would approve or need to approve.
Ryan, you based that 16.9 million and $1 million a year for 30 years? You said for 30 years?
30-year loan, yep. So it's $16.9 million, and these are worst-case scenario numbers. This number was based on $20 million, the payment.
Okay.
Like, basically, we send it to the EPA and say, here's what we think it'll cost, because it's an EPA loan. And then they go back through all of our, what our rates are, what the rest of our plant looks like, what our projections to bring in every year, and then they say, this is your estimated payback number. None of this is set in stone.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. Aggregation, so electric aggregation is in place. I know there's a lot of questions because we have been inundated with phone calls and guests here at the city building on the natural gas aggregation portion. Everybody has received letters. So I talked to our consultant again this morning. Basically, they are still waiting for AEP Energy, who is one of the companies that's interested in bidding this for us, to get back with the number. They think now there's going to be a 2-month lag where everyone will go on the center point, which right now is through Dynegy, and I think the current rate as of this morning was like 54 cents per CCF. it's a variable rate though. So if someone wants this, like at this time, everybody's always welcome to go out and shop and get their own rates, or they can just stay with the center point rate. And then as long as you do nothing, once this is set, you will automatically opt in to whatever the city's aggregation rate stands at that point. And again, I think I mentioned this a couple meetings ago. Everyone's worried about the election and where the numbers are going to go, and getting people to take on that liability of that much natural gas at a certain price.
Ryan, you said the electric letters have already gone out?
The electric letters should have already went out, or in the process. The electric starts December. So they'll go out next month, or this.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because it's like, what?
But the rate is 0718. Phase 2 sidewalks, we had a pre-construction meeting 2 weeks ago. So they're expected to start any day. They were finishing up a project in Moraine, and then we'll get phase 2 sidewalks going. Phase 3 sidewalks, we're actually meeting with our engineers tomorrow to start going over what phase 3 is going to look like. Our current water tower project is still in the design phase. They should have something to me here in about a month, and we'll kind of be back in the same place as we are with the solids handing on authorization to bid for that water tower. Maintenance paving, our pre-construction meeting is next week, so they should be starting either the end of next week or the first of the next on all the maintenance paving. And I believe Grant is in there in our paving for this year.
Avenue B?
Avenue B is not. Avenue B, I think is, I'd be guessing. We have it slated out for 20 years, but
Right.
I think it's like 3 years out.
Okay.
And then, as everything gets old, we're looking at the water treatment plant. We have, so the large tanks out there, the clarifiers, and what they call the wet well. Clear well, thank you. It was a well something. We have brought in the original installers and builders of the tank, this DL tanks that are out of Boston. Last week we met with them because we started to see some structural integrity to the outside of the walls. So they came in, and then they're currently working on a proposal to give to us on repairs out there that they estimate will last us an additional 25 years. So we can get some more years out of that plant. Let's see, okay, park repairs are ongoing from the tornado. The gazebo's ordered. We've had it ordered about 4 weeks. They told us 4 to 6, so I'm expecting any day that we're gonna get started on that. They're gonna they started tearing down shelter 1 this week, and then here in the next couple weeks, that'll start to be rebuilt. And then shelter 4 and the roundhouse, I think it's the week of October 14th, they're gonna start on rebuilding that. The smaller shelters, it's a work in progress because all the roof estimates came back extremely high and much higher than the insurance gave us. And then we've been meeting with our urban forestry consultant from ODNR, Wendy Van Buren, on the tree replanting out in the park. We had another meeting with her today, and we're starting to nail down a plan on what that replanting out there will look like. And then code enforcement is ongoing. As of this morning, I was talking to Chad about kind of where we were. He currently has 150 open cases that he's working with. In the last 3 months, he has been able to close 50 cases, which does not included in that 100. We have 150 open right now. In the last 3 months, we've closed 50 over volunteer compliance or through the courts. And then I know he's working with Mr. Riemann and Chance Cox, the assistant law director, on, I think there's 10 that are in process of courts now. So it's a work in progress, but there's a lot out there to take care of. And then last but not least, I would like to request a committee assignment for the Utilities Committee to establish rates for Rumpke, their out-of-town rates.
Out-of-town rates or?
Out-of-town rates and tap-in fees.
Okay.
Is that for their project?
What's that?
Is that for their building?
Yep.
All right, so utility committee, can you have that back?
When do you want it?
Sooner the better on that.
Next meeting, 15th?
Yeah.
Give you 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so committee assignment for the study of the water rates for out of town or out of the city for Rumpke. And what was the other one?
Tap-in fees.
And tap-in fees. Yep. Put that all together in one assignment. Okay.
Okay.
Is that it?
That is it. Unless anyone has questions, I will pass.
Thank you. You got a lot going on. Mr. All Director, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just a reminder tonight, with 2 council members absent, we're not able to suspend the rules, so all the legislation will just have the first reading, and then we'll move on from there. And with that, I'll take any questions anybody has.
Okay. City Auditor, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a few things tonight. I wanted to, I know there were some emails that went out that there's still some training that needs to happen, so I will be contacting you guys personally, but there were some emails that went out. The audit for 2024 is complete and filed with the state and has been, I'm not sure that it's uploaded yet. I did check it before I went to training last week. Didn't see it yet, but it should be. I did get the invoice, so I'm thinking it should be uploaded to the auditor's state website, but I did get the letter verifying it is complete. There were no findings. The budgets for 2025 are being submitted currently, so we're getting those together, and I will be asking for a finance committee assignment probably in the next month or so after we review those with the departments, but we are getting those budgets together for 2025. Also, with the budgets in mind, we have had a renewal for our property and casualty and auto and liability insurance, and those renewals came in, and we do have the final numbers currently. So I wanted to bring to council some information regarding those renewal policies for 2024. So our policy is effective October 1, 2024 to September the 30th of 2025. And currently, with the industry standard, they're seeing a double-digit increase in any premiums. We were fortunate enough not to see a double-digit increase. However, we did see most of our increase in the liability coverage, which would be the general liability, the public officials liability, and the umbrella policy, which covers the excess over just the standard liability coverage on the policy. So with that, because we did see an increase of, let me tell you the number here. There was a $13,000 increase with the liability premium only. That did not include any auto or property. The auto and the property increased due to the changes that we've made over the policy plan, and we maybe saw about a 3% increase on that, which was very low. I think some of that had to do with property values being increased because, as we know, property values to replace these are getting larger. So that was a smaller increase overall. We were rated. This policy was rated, and they go back 7 years on the claims. The last 5 years they can look at. The last 5 years we've had $500,000 in claims, with the largest claim being the tornado, and that claim is not settled yet. So that claim is still ongoing until we finalize what needs to be repaired. And as Mr. Delk alluded to, we have been paid. However, some of those costs are coming in at a higher dollar value, so we will be having to submit a supplemental to get the repairs completed. So with all of that being said, we did, due to the increase in the policy, we did determine that we would look at an increase in the deductible, which would allow the city to take some of the liability on themselves and decrease the premium overall. So with that, we looked at an auto and collision increase. Currently, we're paying a $1,000 deductible. We looked at a $3,000 deductible, which seemed to be the most reasonable savings, and a $5,000 property deductible, which our current property deductible is $1,000. So that would allow, the city would take on that liability. We would pay that out ahead of any claims that would be submitted to our carrier. So I kind of did some research regarding what the claims would have been for this policy term. This policy term, if we would have the higher deductibles, the cash for the city would have been around $11,000 more out. The savings to the policy overall is about $15,500. So if we do increase those deductibles, we would take on, so it's a savings right around $4,000, $4,600 a year if we did take on the higher deductible. So we're just we need to decide, make this decision, whether we want to assume some of the liability on our own and make the savings and take the gamble, or do we want to just renew as is and go through another policy year?
What are your suggestion?
I think that, Mr. Delk and I talked about it again this afternoon. I think we can take the $3,000, $5,000 deductible and save the premium and roll the dice. The big claim we had this year obviously was the tornado. Some of those smaller claims, at the end of the day, it's about washes. $4,000 at the end of the day, it about washes. But we had, how many claims did we have? Just this year, we've had 9. We had 9 claims
This year?
that were paid out, yes. Just this year. And that doesn't include the tornado, that's auto and property only.
When you say this year, is from
It's this policy year.
Yeah, the policy year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's council's?
Does anyone have an opinion or any questions?
Just for clarification,
Sure.
frame around it. On an apples-to-apples comparison of last year's premium was X. And this year's premium, everything held constant, would be Y. What are X and Y?
So yes, so last year's premium, and that's kind of a little bit tricky because of the changes in the auto. So, but,
Just talking total numbers for a minute.
Okay.
Even I realize there's some changes in content.
yes, so if we have to take the policy and what changes we made. So our policy premium last year was $266,944. However, we had $6,571 increase in premium due to the changes that we made. So that has to be taken into effect.
6,000.
6,500, yes, 6,571. So that premium roughly would have been $273,515. The current renewal, as is, came in at $297,338. Now, if we increase the deductible, that renewal would go down to $281,744. And the city would assume some of the liability when we have those fender benders or things that would happen.
If you have any kind of an accident anymore, that, to be at $3,000 is basically.
Doesn't take very much.
No.
No, the claims are not 3,000, they're more like 4 and 6, even for just little minor things.
Yeah.
Anymore, yeah. Anybody else have any questions or any concerns or input?
Do we need a vote on this?
I don't believe so, no.
On which-
It was
yeah.
just something I wanted to bring to council for their information and,
Our intent is to competitively shop the policy for next year.
We can, but I can tell you with a $500,000 worth of losses in the last 5 years, it'll be a little bit more difficult than just shopping it. But yes, our intent, we will get it together for the spring.
Any other questions?
Does anyone have a preference on what they would like to see as a
Higher,
deductible?
I could agree with the higher deductible.
Go ahead and increase it to the 3 to 5?
That's what I would say.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and get that renewed then.
You can't say anything.
No, he doesn't have an opinion. Mr. Kaiser is here, however, who could have an opinion if you have any questions of him.
All right, so you got your marching orders.
I got him. And then I know we can't vote on the legislation, but I did want to kind of address that real quickly on the supplemental. So we have a supplemental for the Ohio opioid monies. And what we did with that was put some money in those line items in order for the purchases to be made as they are going through and doing these events and trainings in this Red Ribbon Week and the things that they want to do to promote the opioid, the drug control. So what we did is appropriated some monies. We plan to have this in the budget for the 2025 budget and have that on review. But the monies would still have to go through the appropriate procedure as far as the chief would enter the purchase order. It would be continued through Ryan and then I would approve the PO. So those monies are in there. Not for anything, I think, I take that back. They do have some specific things that they're gonna purchase out of the office supplies, for an upcoming event. That's true, chief, correct? Okay. So we have that, and then the transfer, is just a transfer of funds in order for the transit coordinator and her assistant to go to training, but ODOT will be reimbursing those funds to us. But we had to transfer the funds in order to make the payment for them to be able to attend the class. And if no one has any questions, I will pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee reports, we have none, but I do need to sign the ethanol rates. Have that back by November 5th.
No, I'll have it next meeting.
Okay. And then the study of the water rates, the yearly study of that, which you can have that back by November 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is a required yearly, whether we need to increase, decrease, et cetera.
We can probably have that at the first meeting in November.
Okay. All right. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions. First, we have a resolution approving bids, contracts for water and sewer plant chemicals. And as Mr. Reaman said, we can't suspend the rules because we're missing 2. So we'll read them.
A resolution approving bids for contracts for water and sewer plant chemicals for use and delivery in 2025. This resolution accepts and approves the bids for and authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into contracts for water and sewer plant chemicals for the calendar year 2025 with the following companies: Univar Solutions USA, Inc., Aquasmart, Inc., Chemical Services, Inc., and PVS Technologies, Inc.
All right, moving on to the second. We have a resolution authorizing bids for sanitary sewer lining.
A resolution authorizing bidding for sanitary sewer lining. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for sanitary sewer lining.
Moving on to the third, a resolution authorizing bids for solid handling wastewater treatment plant.
A resolution authorizing solicitation of bids for solids handling at the City of Greenville wastewater treatment plant. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for the wastewater plant solids handling project.
Number 4, a resolution adopting transit policy and plans.
A resolution adopting transit policies and plans. This resolution adopts the following transit policies and plans which were recommended and approved by the Ohio Department of Transportation: Americans with Disabilities Act Plan, Disruptive Passenger Behavior Policy, Facilities Maintenance Plan, Procurement Policy, and Federal Transit Administration Title VI Program.
Moving on to number 5, a supplemental ordinance.
A An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund in the sum as follows. Office supplies in the amount of $5,000 and new equipment in the amount of $1,500. These funds are needed for the police department to fund and support drug awareness.
And number 6, moving on, our last is a transfer ordinance.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. This ordinance allows for the transfer in the Public Transportation Fund in the sum as follows. $1,500 from the office supplies line to the travel and bond line. This transfer is to cover the initial cost for the Public Transportation Director and Operations Manager to attend the 2024 Ohio Public Transit Association Conference. This conference is recommended by ODOT and will be reimbursed by scholarship.
All right, that completes the ordinances and resolutions. We have nothing under old business, correct? Under new business, we have a request for a handicap parking permit at 527 Schweitzer Street.
To Greenville City Council, I have reviewed the application for special parking for handicapped persons filed by Darren A. Kobe on September 17, 2024. It is my recommendation that a handicap parking sign be erected on South Street near Schweitzer Street to accommodate the request filed by Mr. Kobe. Sincerely, Chief Ryan Veggie.
We need a motion. Yeah, just need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to accept the recommendation from the Greenville Police Department. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have the council representation of outside committee, architecture review board, which is Mr. Brown. Okay, so we're, get that next meeting.
We have a meeting next Tuesday
Okay.
at 8:30.
Just some kudos to Mr. Brown. He is, and I believe either in Georgia or North Carolina, helping out with the hurricane disaster. So thank you, Mr. Brown, for what you're doing. Moving on to communications. Nothing? Call council.
Rogers?
On the Grant and Fourth intersection, I know that has been a problem for several years. I also travel that area quite a bit myself, and it is tough to see because of the parked vehicles, but yet I see the problem with the parking in front of your residences and, leaving you without parking. And so, the whole thing needs to be done. Whenever I'm headed that direction, I usually use Fifth and go down to Tecumseh just to alleviate that area and not be content with it. I have a larger truck and I have to be out in the intersection in order to make that turn. So, with Mr. White's and mine, and I don't remember who else, Clarence, we'll get that solved somehow. And, it's going to take a little study, but I think we can do it. So just bear with us. And I pass.
White?
First, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. I think we had some really good things come up to talk about. Sabrina, as this starts to come together with the safety committee, I would like to personally get with you, since I'm less familiar with it than anybody else, and have you walk me through it sometime before we meet. So if you give me your number, or I would like to do that. And we'll get that meeting set up for early next week is the intent. So with that, I'll pass.
Ely?
I'll pass tonight.
Godwin?
Just want to thank everybody for coming up tonight, and have a good evening, and I'll pass.
Norris?
Yeah, thanks for everybody who attended and the public for coming up, because sometimes it takes a little bit, but we appreciate that, and we appreciate hearing from the public. Appreciate the department heads being here. Looks like get the rain cleared out of here tomorrow, and so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, homecoming out here at the park, so a lot of celebrations going on. So we'll get some good weather for it. With that, I will pass.
President Baumgartner?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming up. It's never easy to come up to a council meeting. You've never been here before and speak. So It takes a lot of encouragement, so I thank the folks that come up. And I encourage you to, if each ward has a council member, so reach out to your council member if there's something not right too, so we can help you. So, and then I'm always available. Give me a call or email the city. So, and with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adjourn. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes. Evening, everyone.
Good evening.